Hey guys, Coach JT here, and I just wanted to check in because tonight we're not going to be able to do the Chalk Talk Wednesdays with Coach JT and Coach Campbell and Coach Larry because my daughter is interstate send off for dance, so I'm going to be at that instead of this, right? Which I know has nothing to do with softball and baseball, but it does have to do with my family, so I'm going to be out doing that. So I wanted to record this. There were two questions that came up that I think really need to be answered. The first one was in regards to it was actually from a parent in the community. Her daughter wants to go to UCLA and play softball. And her mom's reaction was interesting to me because she said, without saying, I need her to set realistic expectations, she said, I need her to set realistic expectations. And I wanted to talk about a coach's role in something like that because I don't believe it's my position or my place to tell anybody that they can or cannot do something. So if somebody on my team wants to play for UCLA, all I can do is prepare them to do that, right? So what I would do is first make sure that that's what they really, really, really need to do because that is a can be considered a big goal, and there's going to realistically be a lot of work that needs to be put in for somebody to be able to get there, right? And it's kind of like when you're saving for money. Everybody knows that if you start saving $100 a month at the age of 18, by the time you're 50, you're going to have over $2 million, right? And maybe everybody doesn't know that, but that's a pretty common knowledge. I've got a financial background, and that's something that a lot of people know. Um, but also, it's pretty clear to see that if you start saving and still want that $2 million at the age of 50, if you want that $2 million, say by the time you're 65 and wanting to retire, then you might be a 5 or 10,000 a month instead of $100 a month to get the same amount of money, or maybe even a little bit less money. So it relates to your development as a player. If you're a junior in high school and just now deciding that you want to go to UCLA, you're going to have to save $10,000 a month. In other words, you're going to have to put in some serious work. And I don't know what work you put in prior to that, but maybe you've had this vision for longer and you've put in a lot of that work that it's going to take to get there. But if not, you can still get there. It's just going to look a lot different. Your schedule is going to be different. Your eating habits are going to be different. Your practice hours are going to be different. And somebody starting at 8 years old doesn't have to be that intense and that shortly. And two things are going to happen. One, when you focus on something intensely in a shortened time frame, usually you get better exponentially faster, right? And so you may get really, really, really leaps and bounds better because you're starting to focus on this new vision, this new goal. I don't like to call it a goal. This is a good time, I think, to bring that up. I like to call it a vision because when you get that vision in your mind, that vision becomes a part of you and something that attracts you towards it. A goal to me always seems like something is in the future, and it's kind of nice, and you give yourself that sort of, well, my goal is to do this, but if something comes up, I don't need to do that, right? It's like when you set expectations for your players at the beginning of the year and you say, if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late. If you're late, you have these consequences. And they'll say, oh, but coach, I got in traffic, or coach, I got in this. And I said, so you're not that committed to your commitments, right? Because it's less like a commitment if you say, I'll be there, and then one thing gets in your way, traffic, or you couldn't find your keys, or you couldn't find the right socks, or whatever that excuse is. All you're telling me as a coach, and all you're telling your boss, and all you're telling your teacher, and all you're telling the people that are counting on you to do whatever it is you're committed to, all you're telling them is, I'm not reliable. If something gets in my way, I'm not going to do this. As long as nothing's in my way, I'll be there, and that'll be no problem. And 90% of the time that works. But a coach, a team, a company, a parent, a spouse, a relationship, a boyfriend, a girlfriend, if they can only count on you when it's easy, it's going to make for a very short-lived relationship, right? Because the one time stuff hits the fan, you're not going to be relied on. You're not. They're going to be relying on you, and you're not going to show up. And I don't know why I got off onto that topic, right, of excuses, but obviously that was something. But somebody who's, if we bring it back to this particular player who wants to play for UCLA, if you want to play for UCLA, there's some specific things you're going to have to do. One, you're going to have to get to work, and you're going to have to get to work now. You're going to have to take care of your body. You're going to have to work on speed and agility. You're going to have to work on strength training. You're going to have to work on developing those basic skills to a level where they happen automatically and you don't have to think about them, right? And all that's great and all that's fine. But in order to play at UCLA, you got to have a different mindset. You gotta start with, who do I have to be able to not only play at UCLA but actually make an impact, right? Because that coach is going to want somebody who can make an impact. And you see a lot with the transfer portal and all the different things that are going on at the college level, where now a team like UCLA is probably looking at the portal, looking at junior college transfers, and then looking at high school girls, because the high school girls aren't going to be typically as well developed as, say, somebody who's played junior college for 2 years. They're not going to be used to the rigorous schedule. They're not going to be used to how much they work out and do all those things at the college level. And they may not be as well developed as those girls coming out of JUCO. So in thinking that, when I go back to this girl and we meet in practice and we talk about her vision, we first make sure that she's completely 100% committed to that vision, because there's no way. Some visions you can accomplish without being fully committed, but some visions you cannot. You must be. And if I were you, I would pick a vision that you have to be fully committed to, because it's only when you're fully committed and focused that real development happens, right? So once I establish that she is absolutely committed to that dream, to that goal, the next thing I'd do, since she's a junior in high school, is say, let's start talking to junior colleges in and around UCLA, where they either hold camps at UCLA, they participate in leagues around UCLA, or they're within driving distance of UCLA. And what that's going to do is that's going to give that player the best chance. If they can make those teams, and they can, because they're making that decision early enough, when they make those teams, they'll be within the vicinity of UCLA, which is going to give them an edge, right? And just like in hitting, you reduce variables, because every variable you eliminate gives you more of an edge in that at bat. The same thing with recruiting, right? Or getting to the college that you want to go to. So then once you make it on one of those junior college teams, you're not done. You're still working on this big vision. It's still pulling you forward. So you've got to, once you're there, now you've got to be the best player at your position on that team. And the goal has to be that at the end of 1 year or 2 years, however long you're playing for that junior college, you need your coach to be able to give you such a glowing review that they almost force UCLA to take you. And what I mean by that is, this coach is going to say, what a great attitude you have. You're always on time. When you make a commitment, you keep it. You work hard. You train hard. You help improve those around you. Even when you're not on the field, you're improving the dugout, you're cheering on your team, and not just in a superficial way where you're doing these chants that you memorize for years, but you're actually with your whole heart supporting your team on the field, even if you're not there. And when your coach gives those kinds of glowing reviews and introduction from somebody that they probably know because you're at a junior college near UCLA, now you got a chance. Now you got a chance, a real chance to make the team that you wanted to. And yeah, that's what I would do. And what I would say, if you guys want to talk about this. Give me your feedback. I know normally we'd have you on live on this call and you'd be able to give us feedback right now. But again, I'm going to be at dance tonight instead of softball or baseball, which is awesome. I love it. I love my daughter to the moon and back. And what I would say is joining the conversation. What thoughts do you have in regards to what I just said? Do you have additional things to add? Or are there some things that you maybe don't agree with that I talked about? The second thing I wanted to talk about is actually, this is an interesting one because for years I've been training these comp teams, and the majority of the girls, because our goal at PAC Baseball and Softball Academy is to get you to the next level, whatever that means, whether that's college or professional softball or something else. You know, we have one girl that just got drafted into the women's professional baseball league. So you just never know what that next level is, but that's entirely our focus. And so I inherited an 18U competition softball team from another coach. A friend of mine was coaching them for years, and she moved away. And what she told me was, I'd like you to take over this team. These girls want to go to college. They want to compete. They have a lot of talent. So I came out and watched, and I saw everything. The only thing I couldn't confirm is that they wanted to go to college and play softball. But everything else, they definitely are talented. They definitely compete when they're on the field. They definitely work together as a good team. The parents got along well. So I said, yeah, absolutely, I'll take over this team for you. So last night we had a team meeting, and I'm talking to the parents, and I've got all this stuff prepped for the spring season, what the training schedule is going to look like, what the practice schedule is going to look like, what our goals are, what level we'll play at, and all those things. And I got this feeling that I needed to ask the parents what their thoughts were. And I started asking them, and all these parents were like, no, my daughter doesn't want to play in college. She just wants to go to college at the college she wants and pursue her career. She just wants to have a fun last season with her friends and play softball and hang it up after that. And this was a recurring thing. That, in fact, there were only 3 girls from the entire team that actually want to play at the college level. And I thought, well, then everything I prepared for this meeting, we need to throw away because we got to change our focus. And this was kind of eye-opening for me because I've always wanted to be at the next level. I wanted to play in the major leagues. That was the only thing I ever wanted to do. So I worked my way up, and eventually I became a coach, found a passion for that. And it's a different point of view and a perspective that I don't normally even address. And I thought, okay, well, then what do our goals need to be? So we should probably switch these scheduled tournaments from showcase tournaments to tournaments that are a great experience, where the girls are going to go and not only have fun on the field and be able to compete. Maybe we drop down a level and compete more than pushing ourselves at the top level. And we go to these tournaments that are a fun experience, where there's a lot of things outside of playing on the field that we now decide to do instead of just focusing on getting better at our craft and being seen by coaches and presenting ourselves well and actually doing the work that it takes to prepare for the college level. And so not only do you need to change the tournaments that you go to, you need to change how you approach practices, right? Because I don't want to just cruise through this year and have a lot of fun, because nobody has fun if you're losing. So you still got to train. You still got to do these things that are going to benefit the girls and make them better. Maybe you do drop down a level, but now practices, instead of 3 to 4 days a week, maybe they're 2 days a week with the whole team. And that third day is where we take a day and we just focus specifically on those girls who are looking to play at the next level. And we do a very intense, focused, skills-based, mental-based training for those girls, getting them prepared for the rigor and the work that it's going to take to play at the college level. And that becomes our new focus. And we have the 2 team practices a week that are very much focused on team building, on leadership building, on accountability, on having each other's backs, on what it takes to play as a team, and how to have the group mentality over the individual mentality, and those little things that this game teaches you and make you a better person a better member of the human race, a better member of your community, a leader in your community, a leader in your family, a leader in your relationships. All of these things that we can teach, we now shift our focus to entirely based on those things. And yeah, we're still going to go out there and we're going to compete and we're going to win at these tournaments and we're going to do those things, but we're also going to have a ton of fun. And I want to know, what is your feelings on that? Have you ever run into this? And based on all the things that I've said, what would you say I should do with these girls? And is there something I missed in what I told them last night we were going to focus on for this upcoming season because of the change in vision, if you will? Not the change in goal, but there's a different vision for this team than normally the 18U team that I would coach would be much more focused on getting to the next level. And this is going to be interesting. We're going to bring you along the ride for this journey. We'll see how it rolls out through the spring and summer season. And it'll be interesting to see. But I would love your feedback on what you would do. Maybe some of you have been through this. Maybe you've coached that team that is not, just has no desire to play at the next level, but they want to have fun their senior season and their last season in softball, what could be their last season in softball. And I'm curious to see if anybody changes their mind, if we can help them fall back in love with this game and they decide, you know what, Coach, I do want to play in college. I do want to do some additional things. And what does that look like? Anyway, that's it. Those are the two big questions I wanted to answer for our Chalk Talk Wednesday. Thank you so much for being here today. I can't wait to see you again. Again, love you, miss you, Campbell. Not on this call today, and Larry as well. And the rest of you coaches weren't able to jump on this because we were recording this in the middle of the day, but I just wanted to make sure we got something out because I had my little clerical error on Monday and didn't want to let you guys down again. And anyway, keep doing what you're doing. Keep being great. Engage in the community, and let's all get better together. Thanks, and that's all I have for Chalk Talk Wednesday today, our Q&A, and we will see you again on Monday and see you hopefully in the community or in the chat below. We'll see you soon. Thanks, guys.